Hey, it's TDA and welcome back to Old World. We are off to quite a strong start with 2 cities up and running already. We took some pretty important decisions in the first 2 episodes to kind of make sure we are optimizing our way through the early game. So if you missed that, go back and check it out. And this time we are going to focus on making the most out of this pretty good starting position, honestly. We have 2 cities, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more potential city sites because anything here with the Danes or the Vandals over here or the Barbarians, we can wipe off the map and take their cities instead. And of course we have this city site which is already unprotected. Now, in order to make the most out of that, it's probably best if we take either the Barbarian side or the Vandal side first, because they are more to the outside. And it's much more likely that the AI is going to try to take one of those rather than these, because unless there is some sort of continent here very close by, it's not likely they'll cross the sea and take it for themselves. We also need to make sure we balance our production in order to make that happen, because of course we need an army to take care of these enemies. And we do that by making sure we are building things in the most optimal city. So in this case we have Parsing, our capital, which has an amazing growth rate of 16, which makes it very easy to build settlers and workers and the like. So as you can see, we have a 6-year waiting time to make a settler. And if we look at the other city, this has the standard 10 growth, and it's going to take 8 years. So we can actually make it 2 years faster in the other city, and that's just far more efficient. Now, that means that building an army in this is going to be more efficient doing that here. Although, if you look at our main capital, it's actually only 5 years for a warrior as well. So right now, our capital is the best at everything because it's the most developed city. But we are going to have to spread our cards a little bit between our cities, of course, in order to make sure we take the advantage of all the resources we have at hand. We're also going to explore a little bit around the Vandals, and then we're going to go up here and make sure we also grab these ancient ruins that have been sitting here forever. We might also need to build a second scout just to make sure we get some more traction on the exploration. Basically, there's a lot of things you want to do at the same time, so building settlers, building workers, building scouts, building an army. And we'll have to kind of balance that, and right now we're starting with the settlers and the warriors. But before we can do any of that, we are going to have to deal with some events. So we met Carthage, and let's see where they are. They are right in the north. So we're definitely going to want to prioritize any city sites that are over here. And what do we want from us? We can send them some money in order to get goodwill. We can keep it neutral, or we can declare war. And yeah, I don't think we necessarily want to do that. Now, before you make a choice here, of course, look at where they are. If they're very close by, you might want to keep them friendly, at least for the short term. And if they're very strong, which apparently they are not, they only have 2 weak cities at the moment. So that's basically the same as we have. And if the AI has as much cities as you do, you will likely be able to win because, well, let's assume you're smarter than the AI, shall we? So that means that in this case, I think I'll just go for the neutral. We do have a minus 40 reputation with them, opinion with them, but that's because they're close. And to be honest, on a map like this, anyone will probably be close to us unless they're like in the far corner somewhere. So this shouldn't be too much of a problem. I like my my gold, so let's just keep it as it is for now. We also have some religious events. So basically the priests are asking whether or not we want to adopt Judaism, and we do, because ideally we would like everyone in our entire empire, or in fact the entire world, to convert to Judaism, because we founded that religion and we have their holy city, and anyone who shares religions tends to have a good opinion of each other. So that's how it works in real life, and that's typically how it works in this game as well. So we are going to convert to Judaism, and then we get the second pop-up over here that is going to ask us to set an ambition, or at least ask us if we want to set an ambition. Basically, the priests, I'm not entirely sure why, but they think that it would be a very good idea to have 6 mines or 6 quarries, and that would strengthen the relationship between their god and us. So let's see. Mines is what produces iron, and quarries is what produces stone. We're going to want both. However, the real question is, what do we want 6 of? Let me actually check, because we do have some resources over here that we have to improve with a mine. So we have salt over here. Do we have anything else? We do have ore. I'm not entirely sure if we're going to be able to get that, but that's mining as well. I think we're getting our answer ready. We don't necessarily have anything else going on that specifically requires a mine or a quarry. But we do need mines as well, because we need the iron production in order to deal with the upkeep for our warriors. As you can see, it consumes 1 food and 1 iron per year. The food is not going to be a problem, but we currently do not have any iron production, so we're definitely going to want to build at least a couple of mines, so that will get us a long way towards that 6 already. And if we complete it, anyone who is part of Judaism will really, really like us, and we're also going to get some legitimacy for completing an ambition. So let's go for the mines. Now, as always, we do need to make sure we prioritize using our orders in the correct order. Yes, pun intended. So let's see, we are going to have to move our scouts. So let's see what's over here. Nothing of too much interest. Let's make use of that hill as well. And we are then going to zoom around. And we also found Rome. We are definitely not going to declare war on them. I don't think that's a good idea. So we just maintain the truce. As you can see, we already have Carthage over here with a city, so it shouldn't take them too long to start trying to expand. And we are also therefore going to move our slinger in this direction. Alternatively, we could go and farm some experience by attacking and stuff like that, but I don't think that's necessary at this point. Moving across rivers is a really fast way. It's the same thing as moving across roads, so that's a very convenient way of making sure we can reach these cities. So let's see. We are going to move you here. And we are also going to promote you, because we do have some additional training that we can spend. Now, these promotions are a little bit random. As in, it's not always going to be the exact same 4 promotions. And if you go in a certain direction, it usually pays off to focus on that direction whenever you can. So for example, let's say I go for Horsebane, which makes me really good against mounted units. Then the second level is going to give me a much larger bonus than the first level, and they stack. So investing in a certain direction pays off rather than just spreading across different directions, generally speaking. Now in this case, I have the option to be better to basically defend from urban, so that's good for defense in cities. I can be very good to shoot down horses, but I don't think we'll have many of those for the moment. Focus is basically a way to do extra damage, kind of a critical hit, if you know what that is from other games. And guard is basically some generic defense. I'm not hugely happy about any of these choices, honestly. Focus could actually be sort of good, I suppose. Horsebane is a very large bonus, but it's a very specific bonus, and I don't necessarily want my slingers anywhere close to mounted units to begin with. So yeah, let's just go for focus and deal with that. Now make sure you promote your units after you move them, because once you do, you cannot move them. It's a little bit of a weird mechanic, because if you can move them and then promote them, it makes sense that you should be able to do the reverse as well, but nope, it doesn't work that way. And the same holds when you add a general. You need to do that after you move, if you were planning on moving them anyway, and because otherwise you won't be able to do so. Oh boy, there is one exception to Judaism people liking me, and that is when their leader actually hates me. And in this case, our father, the grandfather that we kicked off his throne, is now the head of the religion, and that means that the people of Judaism went from cautious to being upset. And that means we're going to get a lot of extra discontent, and we could actually have people in our cities that are converted to Judaism becoming rebels. So that's definitely not what we want. And oh boy, this is really infuriating, because they're actually upset, but only at a -2. So that's like the minimal threshold of becoming upset. But it doesn't care if you're like -20 or -99. It will give you exactly the same result. So, however, that also means that if we can twist the Judaism opinion of us slightly in our favor, should actually be able to make them happy again. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to influence their leader, so our grandfather, and hopefully make his opinion about us a little bit better, and then make sure that everyone who now joins Judaism will become a little bit more happy, as well as all the people in our holy city. And this is an event that will take a couple of turns to complete, 2 turns to be exact. We have a 50% chance of just getting the result that we want, so he will become influenced, that will raise his opinion. We could also have 25% chance that we do get our influence on him, but we also get a weakness exposed, and we actually get a -2 legitimacy as well. So that's not what we want to see happen. And then there's a 25% chance that we'll get some other event that could be positive, negative, we'll see. We're also going to get some experience from doing this. So generally speaking, it's not a bad thing to use your influence, although you do risk getting those weaknesses. But as long as you're not just doing it because, but you do it with some intent behind it, it's typically a good thing to do so. But there's also some happy news, because our wife gave birth to our son, Prince Smerdis. And, well, he is aged 0. He has a cautious opinion about us. He doesn't really know us yet, so that's interesting. And that means that we now have an heir. And we get some experience for that, so that's awesome. But more importantly, we will be able to start shaping the statistics of our heir as he grows older, goes to school. And this 1 over here means that he's the first in the line of succession. So if we get more children, they will also be able to follow in our footsteps if something happens to Prince Smerdis, or for whatever reason we decide we do not want him to follow in our footsteps and things like that. But we'll deal with that once it pops up. But this is a very interesting thing to know, and it's also important to know that because he is our heir, he will actually give us bonuses as soon as he starts to develop skills as well. So we don't have to wait until he actually becomes the leader. He'll actually be useful far before that ever happens. Well, there you go. There you have it. There is a city site right over here that we could maybe have settled first if we had known about it. Of course, assuming that there weren't any units on it, because if I look at these units, there was definitely some battle over here. So perhaps there was a camp over here from a barbarian or whatever. But they now occupied this, so we won't be able to settle over here. Because we're simply too late. So we'll have to take that from them eventually. But it also means, once again, that we definitely need to make sure that we grab this site, because, well, they're likely to go there next. If we don't do it, they will for us instead. Now we have some technology to pick, and we actually have interesting choices. So we can either get ourselves a huge amount of stone, and this is a boost, so this won't come back if we don't pick it now. However, we don't really have a use for all of this stone, and you can buy and sell these resources pretty much at will. So, yeah, once again, we don't necessarily need it right now. We also don't have an immediate need for roads, although we will have a definite need for roads at some point, so we do need to pick this up at some point. A Chancellor is always good. Chariots are always good, assuming you can build them. And Doctrine is going to take way too long to complete to even consider, so 55 years. At this point is just insane. So for me, to be honest, it's going to be between these 3, but I think this is the clear winner. The Chancellor gives you a static bonus to your entire empire, and we will be able to actually cheat out a chariot or 2, and I'll show you that in a moment. Oh boy, so apparently the people in Ortospana are now kind of upset with us, so we have a Jewish descent, and that means that we have a chance to spawn rebels near this city, and we can take that away by doing the project Suppress Jewish Descent. However, I don't actually think we're able to complete that in the city, for the simple reason that we need a governor. If I'm not mistaken. So let's see, why can't we do this yet? We require a governor in the city. We cannot put a governor in this city because we don't have a garrison here. So yeah, all in all, this is not good, and we'll have to likely deal with some rebels in our city. Now that's definitely something we can handle. It's not the end of the world, but it's very, very inconvenient. However, this is something you can prevent in your own game. If you have someone who is very much unhappy with you joining a religion as soon as you found it, it's very likely that that person, basically the first person to adopt a religion, tends to be the leader of the religion. So I could have started my influencing mission one turn sooner, and it would have been done by now. Yeah, that's just hindsight, but that's definitely something to take into account for your own game. Right now, I think what we're just going to do is gain a militia over here. That will take some training, but at least we have an additional military unit. It's not going to be a very strong unit, but still, it's not the worst thing in the world. And hopefully we'll be able to get that opinion going in one turn from now, once our grandfather over here is probably going to like us a bit more after our influence and action. It's a bit of a risk, but I don't necessarily want to spend 90 civics on just appeasing them when we can also simply defend. And it's actually a way to kind of farm experience for your military units as well, although not necessarily the best way to do so. I also finally went to this ancient site over here, and apparently this time around it wasn't something that will cost us anything, it will actually give us something. So we are basically asked if we want to learn the secrets of divination, and as you just saw, this is a very expensive, at least relatively for this stage of the game, technology. So if we do that, we'll actually get the divination, and that will give us access to build the ability to build shrines. And we get an ambition to control 4 shrines. Don't really see a reason not to do this. The alternative is to gain 1 wisdom. It will give us a flat 1 bonus to science, so that is going to be very useful as well. But because we don't necessarily have a very wisdomy leader, I think the huge amount of science that we basically get for getting this for free is going to be the better one. And actually completing another ambition that's relatively easy to do is not a bad thing either. So let's go for that one. Oh boy, this game is definitely not making it easy for me to show you how an awesome game looks like, because we are getting some bad luck now in a row. So, the influence mission of King Cyrus has led to an event, and apparently that event is the influence of terror. That doesn't sound good. We corner our grandfather in the hallway of the palace late at night. He has been proven a tough man to track down. Yeah, he is a schemer, so that makes sense. And we are trying to pressure him, and it's going very badly. Perhaps you should take a different tack and rely on your terrifying presence to bend him to our will. Well, we cannot actually pick either of the other options, so I guess yes. But on the bright side, our grandfather is now terrified of us, apparently. And that's a good thing. Yeah, that gives us a 100 opinion bonus, and now suddenly anyone who's Jewish is very, very happy with us. Now, if we could have done this 1 turn earlier, rather than actually having a problem with people in Jewish cities, we would actually have a bonus. Because right now, as you can see, we are getting 2 culture per year, no more discontent, and we, however, still have this Jewish... let me see, can we actually see that we have the unhappy Jewish person? Yeah, we still have the event over here, so we still have it in our city. So we might still get rebels, even though, technically speaking, they're happy with us. But yeah, that's how the game goes. So our settler is done. We are moving towards the city side. I'm producing another settler already. And we have some bad news, because apparently, like I thought, this location is going to be fought over, and the Romans are actually already on their way. I'm actually going to do something sneaky, because I'm really happy now that I already prepared my slinger in this direction, and we gave it some upgrades. I actually also attached our queen as a general to it, because she was a pretty good queen. As you can see, she has 3 courage, which gives it an attacks bonus, and she has a special ability because she's a hero general. That allows us to heal in neutral territory. So this is a pretty strong unit. So what I'm going to do, I am going to declare war on the Vandals. Proceed with the war preparations. Yes, we are now at war. And we are going to see if we can take this city side off the Romans' hands. And I think we just managed to do exactly that. It's a little bit of luck, because we were there just on time, but still, that's war. So they want to give us some wealth. Basically, they want to bribe us. So we can either say, I will not be tainted, and get some legitimacy. That's quite nice. They will not like us for it, but I'm not too bothered about that at the moment. we can say thank you, and we will become exotic and get a pretty hefty bonus to charisma and therefore civics. However, we will lose some legitimacy as well. Or we can just say give it to us and then we get some opinion, but also some gold, quite a lot of gold actually. How much do I care about? Actually, I do care a lot about these civics because that's a lot of civics over a very long time. We are still very young, so that is definitely going to add up. And yeah, the legitimacy is a bad thing, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be a problem. So well, let's go with that. And now we are on top of this city side, and the Romans are out of luck, unless they want to declare war on us. And let's make sure we make that as interesting as we can for them. We still have these vandals next door as well, which we'll need to deal with. But because we are on the city side now, it clearly says Persia. They will not be able to take it, and we can run our settler right over here and take it instead. And then we have then we have a city very close to the capital of Rome. But yeah, that's definitely a way we can make sure Rome is not able to expand too fast. We might actually be able to move this settler there as well, but I do want to make sure I grab this city side first, as long as we're not losing this side, and I don't think that we're at too much risk of actually losing it, because we also have this warrior incoming here in a moment. We should be able to settle here in like 5 or 6 turns from now. And speaking of settling cities, we are now in this city side. And like I said, if we build a riders city over here, it's going to be automatically connected. So we will have access to mounted units very easily. And we'll actually gain a scout as well. And I had a scout in my wish list to make sure we can keep exploring and know what's going on around us. Like I said, that does mean we will not be able to make use of this statesman, which are a pretty powerful family. Am I going... Should I pick this instead? No, I don't think so. Let's just go for this. We do have a lot of enemies really close, so having some more military options is not going to hurt in the long run. We actually found a new landmark as well. And yeah, that means we have another city settled. So, 3 cities settled. We have another city site claimed already. And we are now starting to massively produce. We have 20 growth city over here, which will be able to churn out workers and settlers at a whim. And yeah, this is going to go pretty well. Once we have the army up and running and we have this site settled over here, we will have to kind of double back and probably take these 2 city sites, and then we'll have a total of 6 cities, which is definitely not necessarily the end of the game or anything like that, but it's a very strong starting position for now. So I think I'm going to end this episode here. I do hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions, etc., to make this more enjoyable. If you're still here, you are awesome, and I hope to catch you in the next one.